Two games, no rebounds in the fourth quarter. Two games, no blocks in the fourth quarter. To say that the 76ers have a problem would be a lie. To say that Tobias Harris is the reason why the Sixers have lost these games in New York would be gross neglect. The Sixers have one issue. He wears number 21. He's a 7-footer that plays like he's 4'9". What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with your host, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. Now, most of you know I am a diehard Philadelphia 76ers fan. I root for my team through any circumstances, but I root for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. And the one thing I am is very difficult, very hard, very, let's say, mean to the team, the guys on my team. Excuse me. Joel Embiid has been one of the most frustrating players I've ever watched. And let's just wrap this up right here, start right here. The Sixers right now are down an 0-2 hole because their 7-footer cannot rebound. He has had a problem in the fourth quarter of critical games rebounding the ball since the start of his career. He has managed to mask this problem by scoring points, by dropping 70 points on rookies in San Antonio. So everyone forgets that in critical moments of games, he will not rebound the ball. He doesn't play tough. He doesn't play physical. He doesn't break through the mental blocks that come with becoming great. But I can sit all day and tell you that. But I'd rather point out some numbers to you. 2 games, fourth quarters, in critical games against a division foe, who you've already played 5 times this year. Joel Embiid has 0 rebounds. The most recent game, the game where they just lost, with Tyrese Maxey got mauled and the NBA said, oh, we missed the call and they didn't call the timeout. Who freaking who? If you get a rebound, that doesn't happen. In that game, in the fourth quarter, Tyrese Maxey had 4 rebounds. One of the smallest guys on the court had 4 rebounds. You know how many the biggest guy on the court had? 0. He had as many as me. You know how many blocks he had? 0. You know how many the man he was defending had? 2. 2 of them were offensive. They were offensive to Sixer fans, but they were offensive for the Knicks. And the biggest one led to the second shot. To say that Joel Embiid is hurt, and if I hear one more person say, poor Joel Embiid, I feel bad for him. He's dragging one leg. What is he doing in the offseason to negate these injuries? I guess we can safely say right now, he's not working on his body. We know he's doing cone drills with Drew Hanlon to become a more skilled big man. And it's become more and more frustrating because there's only one person I've heard call him out. Was Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy was the first person I've ever heard to mention that in the playoffs, Joel Embiid's scoring drops by 4 points. In the playoffs, Joel Embiid's field goal percentage drops by 4 points. In the playoffs, his three-point percentage drops by 4 percentage points. So he's gotten progressively worse as the season goes on. Well, why is that? Because he's not playing back-to-backs. He's not playing 4 games in 5 nights. He's not playing basketball. And that's the problem. Here we sit in year whatever, 10, 12, 15, whatever, and we're still having the same problems we had in year 1 with Joel Embiid. He can't play basketball. He can't play 6 straight minutes of basketball. He played 39 minutes of action. He was on the court for 39 minutes, but I don't think anybody would say he played for 39 minutes. You are the biggest man on the court. No one can seem to relay this to him. And anyone that becomes close to relaying this to him, they get rid of him. So first, it was Brett Brown's fault. Remember in Boston, Brett Brown's fault? A lot of people probably don't remember that the Sixers only got swept one time in the playoffs in the last few years under Joel Embiid's watch. It was Brett Brown's last year. In that game, fourth quarter, and game 3, when the Sixers needed to win to avoid the sweep, 2 rebounds, no blocks. Well, it's okay. He was hurt there. It was the Sixers were. No, he wasn't. The only thing they were missing were Ben Simmons. The same Ben Simmons that the following year was Ben Simmons' fault that they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. But if you go back a year, before we get to the Atlanta Hawks, remember that shot that Kawhi Leonard hit against the Sixers in Toronto? Remember that shot? And it thrusted Toronto to the NBA Finals. That was a team that had Jimmy Butler, had the Sixers kept Jimmy Butler, blah, 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 blah. You know how many rebounds Joel Embiid had in the fourth quarter of that game? 1. Biggest man on the court, 1 flipping rebound. No blocks. but he scored a lot of points. I'm not going to tell you how many points he scored. He scored a lot of points, so he got them shots up. You know why he got those shots up? Because it's the easy part of the game for him. It comes natural to him to shoot a jump shot. You know what doesn't come natural to him? The fight. If you go back and watch the tape, Harvey was flying in and grabs a rebound over Tobias Harris in this game. Look and see who Joel Embiid is boxing out. It ain't the second biggest guy on the court. It's not the guy he should be concerned about. He's got one leg, he's hurt. Okay, he's got one leg, he's hurt. Was he hurt against Atlanta when they were the number one seed and everyone blamed Ben? You remember how many rebounds he had in that game, in that critical game 7? Two. 2 rebounds, 0 blocks, 2 turnovers. But it was Ben Simmons' fault. Same Ben Simmons that held Trae Young to 5 for 23. See, everybody on the court has a job to do. Everybody on the team has a job to do. Do your job. Now, we can get to the front office in a second, who for some reason doesn't believe that it's necessary to have a rebounder or a guy who specializes in rebounding. It's more important to bring in a guy who's never played in the playoffs. Never played in, let's say that again. Never played in the playoffs. And you insert him into a championship contending team and tell him to shoot the 3. When your best players, what do? Shoot the 3. So at some point, you would think the Texas instrument that Daryl Moore uses would say, we might want to get a rebound. Nah, we're not going to do that. We're going to add more 3-point shooters. Buddy Hield has been impeccable. He's been a great attribute to the Sixers thus far, hasn't he? He's been critical in their 2 playoff games. He's been shooting lights out with his whole 2 points. So, yeah, what we've got is a bad batch of basketball minds going on in Philadelphia. And it doesn't just stop with the players. I listen to Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio all day. I heard everybody's name but Joel Embiid. Heard everybody's name but Joel Embiid. It's Tobias Harris's fault because he's not giving me any points. Really? If you win or lose based off Tobias Harris, then you're in a whole heap of trouble. Now, full disclosure, the Sixers should have traded Tobias Harris for John Collins before the season started. They should have traded Tobias Harris for some sort of player whose best attribute was rim running, rebounding, and defense. They didn't do that. They kept Tobias Harris. And Tobias is done. He's got nothing left in the tank. You can see when he plays, he's dragging one leg up and down the court. But it's not as frustrating to watch as your 7-footer who at this point in his career has not found a way to take care of his body. When you hear things like he doesn't come out for warm-ups until after there's 2 minutes left. When you hear things like he's not playing basketball in the offseason. So when the devil is he playing basketball? See, this is the beauty of being an independent mind. This is the beauty of being an independent distributor. This is the beauty of being an independent sports analyst. You can call things as they are. I did a whole show on what I was wrong about, but I have been stoically right on Joel Embiid from day one. And it's not an issue of poor Joel Embiid. Oh, poor guy can't stay healthy. This isn't Yao Ming having the same recurring foot injury. This isn't Ralph Sampson, same recurring injury. This is a guy who's had multiple injuries from the start of his career. Why does he keep getting hurt? It's 2024. There's not one doctor out there who can get him healthy, or maybe he doesn't work on it. Is it safe to say that? And by not working on it, that doesn't mean, oh, he wants to get hurt. No. He wants to be the star of the show. He wants to be the grand marquee, but he doesn't want to put the work in when the lights aren't on. See, doing cone drills with Drew Hanlon is great for SportsCenter when you're playing San Antonio. Doing cone drills and shooting drills and replica drills with Drew Hanlon is great when you're in game 23 or game 46. But when you're in the playoffs, that's where you have to, for lack of a better phrase, man up. That's when you have to turn around and find Hartenstein and lay his you-know-what out when he comes flying through the rim. Because you're the biggest man on the court and you control the paint. Someone has to relay this to him. Someone should have relayed this to him. But when you go back-to-back games, in game 1, it was obvious. When Mitchell Robinson roasted his behind for 6 rebounds in the fourth quarter, 4 offensive rebounds when Josh Hart roasted him for 4 rebounds in the fourth quarter, and he got none. But who did they call out? It's Kelly Oubre's fault. Tobias Harris's fault. They've got to step up. Nah, man. Nah, man. It's one dude who's always in the front of the bus doing all this stuff when it's easy. It's one dude who's always hopping around on the court whenever the camera's on him when it's easy. But when is he going to put it ever? It's not going to happen. Tyrese Maxey has played lights out. He couldn't even get, he had Hartenstein on him. He is your best three-point shooter. He has been hitting deep threes all season long, and Embiid wouldn't even move out of the way. Watch the tape. Go back and watch the final seconds. He's sitting next to him like this. But see, people don't want to see it that way because you can't be critical of the perceived best player because then you don't know basketball. You can't be critical of the perceived best player because then you're hating. But I'm not being critical. I'm giving you the numbers and the facts. I'm reminding you that it was Gallinari that ripped him in the fourth quarter for those closing moments in Atlanta. And then this dude went to the podium and said he did it. I'm reminding you that it was him crying in the tunnel when they lost against Toronto and went to the podium and said, I don't care about the process. We should have got this done. It's never I. It's never I. It's never I. We're the better team is what he said in the post-game conference. The refs, he got fouled, but at no point did he say, I've got a rebound. And credit to Nick Nurse, because he's doing something that Brett Brown didn't have the courage to do. He's doing Doc Rivers didn't have the wherewithal to do. He's taking them out of the play in the fourth quarter. The game one, they lost because they tried to force it to him. Game two, they went with Maxey. And I'm going to venture out here and say game three, they're going to go with Maxey again in that action. They're going to run some off the ball for Maxey. They're going to give him the ball to run some screen and roll. But the job is going to be for Maxey to score. And hopefully somebody will relay to him that Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein are things he needs to be concerned about, not deep threes. And if he's hurt, if he can't walk, if he can't move, if he's giving you everything back to get him off the court, because you're either going to play or you're going to sit. You're either going to win or what are we going to do? You want to win or you want to go home? Because that's where we're at with this thing. That's where it needs to be said with this thing. Tobias Harris is not the issue. He's not helping, but he's not hurting. And just a little side note, he out-rebounded your 7-footer again in back-to-back games. Just saying. At some point, effort, heart, determination are what gets it done. I love LeBron James. He is the most skilled basketball player we've seen probably in eons. I mean, and we'll probably ever see. But the reason why Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan are mentioned as one of the greats because the will of the man often supersedes the skill of the man. Is Hartenstein a better player? No. But his will overcame Joel Embiid's skill. And that is a recurring theme in Philadelphia. That is a recurring theme in basketball, and it needs to be mentioned more. People need to call it out more. It's not about the points that he scores. It's the points that he gives up. It's not about the point. It's not about the deep three that he can shoot against Chicago when it's Chicago's fourth game in 5 nights, or it's not about the threes against Orlando when Wendell Carter's out of the game. It's about what can you do when it's nut check time. And the consequences of their failures are no coincidence. And I could stand here all day or sit here all day and talk about Daryl Morey adding Buddy Hield instead of getting a center. Everyone talked about Andre Drummond. Yeah, the league wanted Andre Drummond. But you know you could have had? You could have had just off Zach Collins. That sounds crazy, right? Wouldn't want to have a backup center who could possibly come in and give you some effort late in the game when your 7-footer is dragging the knee. See, I'm T.I. Red of the reasons to excuse his shortcomings. It happened in Toronto. It happened against Boston. It happened against Atlanta. If you want to go further back, it happened against Boston when the Sixers were 500 to 1 over, 500 to 1 favorite to beat the Celtics. And they lost 4 games to 1. But that was Ben Simmons' fault because he couldn't shoot a jump shot. It was Brett Brown's fault because he played TJ McConnell too much. It was Doc Rivers' fault because he gave up a 3-1 lead or 3-2 lead. It's PJ Tucker's fault. It's James Harden's fault. What happens when you can't blame James Harden? You can't blame PJ Tucker. You can't blame Ben Simmons. You can't blame Elton Brand. You can't blame Tobias Harris. You can't blame Doc Rivers. You can't blame Brett Brown. You light a match and you blow this sucker up because that's what needs to happen. They've got a chance to still pull this out because they've got a special player in Maxey and they got a special coaching nurse. And they got a lot of heart in Kyle Lowry, a lot of heart in Kelly Oubre. But at some point, at some time, we're going to be sitting here in a close game. Joel Embiid's going to be at the foul line, not in the paint, in the proverbial the triple threat position that they teach you in rec league. Not getting a rebound, not blocking a shot, not boxing out another big man, shooting a fadeaway jump shot. That's the Sixers' chances to win, fade away again. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you like the podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, comment, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. Until next time, I appreciate your time here. You be easy.